skill station day, meaning that we look at a specific topic, okay? Today we are looking at compound words, okay, where you take two words and put them together like camp and ground and make campground, right? So we're going to be looking at those, and first, before we even open our books, I'm going to read you guys some information about the Pony Express, okay? It wasn't about moving ponies from place to place, but it was the use of using horses to carry mail, okay? Grace?
I went to Missouri and we got to see a museum about...
There you go. So, listen about this, and this was used a long time ago, okay? So listen up. You good, Lincoln? Okay. Today, well-maintained highways across the United States, hotels and restaurants are scattered along the roads for the comfort of travelers, but in 1860, the riders of the Pony Express rode through little more than wild country. Listen to find out what the trails were like. So what it's saying is when you go on a trip with your family, you're driving, you're going to pass restaurants and hotels and gas stations and places to go and visit and things like that, right? Well, then when you were on a trail for a long time, there was nothing but forests and unclaimed land, right? So listen to this short little story. Right from the start, the Pony Express route posed obstacles for both horse and rider. It all started easily enough for Jim Randall. On the evening of April 3rd, 1860, at the San Francisco Pony Express office, he placed a mochila over his saddle, jumped on, and galloped away. So a mochila is a bag that they would have put the stuff in, okay? Put the papers in, and it typically had a way of securing it and locking it so that for one, the papers didn't fly off, and for two, people couldn't get in there without when they weren't supposed to, okay? A mochila was a special made leather covering to fit over the saddle. A mochila had 4 pouches in which the mail was carried. So it went over the saddle so that, you know when you see like saddlebags when they hung over the side of the horses? That was similar to this, but instead of just having 2 pouches, it had 4, okay? Crowds cheered for Jim Randall, but his ride was only to the Roff, where he boarded a steamer for a placid boat ride to Sacramento. So he rode to a certain area, and then he had to get on to a boat to go a little bit further, okay? The other eastbound riders had their work cut out for them, though. A 2-day rain had churned the trails into mud, and up to 30-foot snowdrifts threatened to block the path over the Sierra Nevada mountains. Once these obstacles were overcome, there were still the dangers of darkness, the desert, and ambush to face before the eastbound riders. So back then, not only was the territory rough, but the weather made it hard, okay? So there was rain, and it would make it muddy and dangerous for the horses, because if your horse breaks its leg, then you're out of luck, right? And so is the horse. The snow, if you couldn't get through the snow or it was too cold, you couldn't get through there very easily, and you had to be very prepared. And ambush means that if a robber or a group of robbers came and tried to take your stuff, because you have to think in the mail, people sometimes send money, right? And goods and things like that. So they would steal that mail and get that stuff. Yes, Keegan?
Was the Pony Express in cowboy days?
Yes.
Yeah.
In 1860, yep. Once these obstacles were overcome, there was still the dangers of darkness, desert, and ambush to face before the eastbound riders safely delivered their mochila of mail. while eastbound riders were racing from California toward the halfway point in Miami, another team of riders began in St. Joseph, Missouri, relaying their mochila of mail eastward. Johnny Frey, the first westbound rider, took a quiet ferry boat ride from St. Joseph across the Missouri River. But then the ride began in earnest. As with the eastbound riders, obstacles threatened to doom the express to failure. Miles of mud, flooded creeks, wolves, buffalo stampedes, ambush, and horses, unaccustomed to the wilderness, slowed the riders' progress. But in the end, both teams of riders delivered their mail to the halfway point of Wyoming. The first express ran with a success. In less than 10 days, mail from California reached the east, and letters from the east were opened in California. In spite of all risks and dangers, the Pony Express accomplished its two purposes. It affirmed that there was a usable year-round route over the Rocky Mountains, and it helped to keep California in the Union. So, think of this. What happened was there were two groups of Pony Express people, okay? Some came from the east and grabbed all of their mail from like New York and that area, and then came over to, and like through the east they would pick up more mail, right? Until they got to Wyoming. When they got to Wyoming, that was the halfway point. Then the people coming from the west would bring all their mail from like California, Nevada, things like that, right? And they would switch. So the guy from California would give his mochila to the guy from New York, okay? And they would deliver the mail to those different states as they came to them, okay? So it only took them, that's a lot of horse riding, a lot of dangerous things. They talked about there were wolves, there were stampedes, weather we already talked about. They did all of that, and they had to go up hills and mountains and go across creeks and get in boats and things like that. But it only took 10 days for people to receive their mail, which isn't bad when you think about it. Just over a week of waiting to get a letter back, right? That's actually pretty impressive for all the stuff they had to go through, right? So it was important to be able to get their mail across the country because they needed to keep California in the Union. Remember, the Union is where during the Civil War there was the Union and the Confederacy. The Union was the northern part, and they didn't want slavery. And then the Confederacy wanted to keep slavery, and so they were fighting, right, during the Civil War. And so to keep California in the Union and keep them engaged in what was happening and engaged in the choices and protocols that they needed to follow for their armies and the laws that were coming about, they needed to be able to safely get mail to those people, right? So that's what was important about there. So that was just a little bit of history lesson before we get into our reading lesson about some things, and then our words today are going to involve some things that would have happened then, okay? So go to page 222, or 224, sorry, 224. 224. Like I already said, a compound word is where you have two words, two main words, and you put them together and they become a new meaning, right? So if I say to play, if I say the word play, you know that means to interact with something or someone and have fun, right? If I say ground, that means the floor outside, right? The hard dirt and things. If I say playground, you know it is an area outside where you are going to play. Do you see how you took two separate meanings, put them together, and have a new meaning, right? That's what a playground is, or what a compound word is. You guys already know what a playground is. Yes, Lincoln?
I have another example of a compound.
Tell me in a little bit, okay? Awesome, though. So I want us to look down at the little yellowish orange circle at the bottom. Compound words are divided between their two. I want us to look at that one in a minute. I want you to look at the yellowish orange circle under number 4. Compound words are 2 words in one. So we need, for numbers 1 through 4, we need to circle the compound words in the sentence. Each one has at least one. Some have more than one. The westbound rider mounted the buckskin pony. What compound word do you see, Sarah? Westbound. You need to circle the word westbound. What word do you see, Mary?
Buckskin.
Buckskin. Good. Good. All right. Sagebrush and greasewood shrubs dotted the drifting sand. Charisma. Sagebush. Good. Sagebrush. Yep. And what was the other one, Grace? Greasewood. Good. Although threatened by rattlesnakes, the pony and rider pressed on. Boyleon?
Rattlesnake.
Rattlesnakes. Good. Even a heavy thunderstorm did not stop their progress. Bella?
Thunderstorm.
Thunderstorm. Good. Now, for numbers 1 through 6, we are going to take those words that we just circled, and we are going to divide the words into syllables and show their primary and secondary accents. So for number 1, we have westbound, right? Hold on. First off, we need to separate it into syllables before we write it. Let's figure out where our syllables are. Westbound. Okay, so where is my syllable?
After west.
After west. So when you make a syllable, you need to put a dot after that syllable. Okay? I do not need to put one at the end, though, because it's just between syllables. Okay? Westbound. Now, this word has 2 accents. We have an accent under west and after bound. Okay, when you do an accent, you just put an apostrophe. The accent means that you kind of make emphasis on it. Westbound. Do you hear how it's kind of out there and stronger than the rest of the word? Our second word is buckskin. That's the second word that we circled up top. So, everyone say it with me. Buckskin. So, where is my syllable at, Mary? After buck. It's not always going to just be between the 2 compound words, so that's why you still need to check. Where are my accents at, Grace? Do you know where one is?
After the K.
After the K, because it's buck. Do you hear? I do.
Buck.
All right.
Back up.
Okay, so our accent is after buck and skin. Okay? We kind of enunciate that skin. Right? Now 3. Sagebrush. Where's my syllables in sagebrush? Everyone say it with me. Sagebrush. Bella?
After the E in sage.
After sage. Okay? And our accents are after the E and after the H. I want us to skip number 4 and I want us to look at number 5. Okay? Number 5 is rattlesnake. We need to do our syllables here. Everyone say it with me. Rattlesnake. We don't just have 2. We have 3 here. We have 3 syllables. Rattlesnake. So our syllables are rat, dot, toll, dot, snake. Okay? Actually, it's snakes. All right? So our accents here are rat, snakes. Because if you hear it, rat, toll, snakes. The toll is kind of soft, right? Rat, toll, snakes. but you hear rattlesnakes, right? You guys hear it?
Mhm.
Yes? Okay. And then number 6, we're going to do thunderstorm. Thunderstorm. How many syllables do we have there? Sarah? 3. We had storm. Okay? And again, our accents came after thun and storm. So if you guys look at that bottom part, it says compound words are divided between their 2 base words. In a compound word, the primary accent is on or within the first base word. The secondary accent is on or within the secondary base word. So if when you look at this, you see we separated some of them separated just in our base words, right? But then some of them had divisions in their base words too, okay? But there's always going to be at least 2 accents when you have a compound word because you have 2 strong words put together, okay? Does that make sense? I want you guys to turn it over, and what you are going to do is you need to get out an orange crayon or highlighter and a yellow crayon or highlighter. All right, you are going to read the story on 225. You are going to circle all compound words you see, and then you are going to highlight half of it orange, one base word orange, the other base word yellow in each compound word. There's an example in the word strawberry in the first paragraph. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 words that you need to highlight. Good luck, guys.